Why did you choose to be in the armed forces?
I came from a small town up in northeastern Pennsylvania in the mountains. I lived in the mountains. I was a hillbilly. Okay?
Billy?
And imagine, no television. We had a radio that played once in a while, you know, but that was it. The rest was the mountains, and we grew up with. I had 6 brothers. There were 6 of us, all boys, and we were in trouble a lot, you know. But we hunted, trapped, and fished, and pretty much lived off the land. And things were getting rough, and I was kind of I figured being the oldest, I was a little bit of a burden on my family. So I figured maybe if I went to the military, so I talked it over with my dad, and my dad got a little teary-eyed, and I went to I got picked for the Marines, and it was an interesting story because, first of all, I was a deck ape. I was on board the USS New Jersey, a great big battleship. And when you go home tonight or here, if you can, just dial in the USS New Jersey BB-62. And it was longer than this building. And you could get lost, oh my word. And the beauty was I went aboard that ship in Bayonne in Norfolk, Virginia after I finished boot camp. And being a young kid from the mountains, I had no idea what a big ship looked like. And I'm walking down the pier, and I got this great big duffel bag on my shoulder, you know, and these 3 sailors come walking up all in white. They're going on liberty. And I said, "Sir," you didn't have to do that, but I didn't know. They looked like they sure outranked me. I said, "Sir, where can I find the USS New Jersey?" And they stopped, and the 3 of them are standing there looking at me, and they're laughing. And they turned around, and they said, "It's right there." And so I went aboard ship. I checked in, went aboard, found the gangplank. The front one was for the enlisted. The back one was for the officers. So I had to make sure I had the right one. I got aboard ship, and make a long story short, the very next morning they put me in a compartment and said, "Stay here because we're getting underway." So anyway, I'm standing there, and I'm afraid to leave my cot where they told me I was going to sleep. See, I slept that night, and then the next morning I'm all dressed and I'm ready to go, and they said, "Stay here, we're getting underway." And I thought, well, I have to find a bathroom, you know, I got to shave and all that. Boy, you get gigged if you don't shave, you know, they get on your case. So I had to look for it, and I could hear the water running, and I thought, I was almost afraid to leave. I'm going to get lost on this thing, I know it. So I came around the side of the cots into the main aisle, and I hear this, "Oh no!" And here's this fella that graduated high school with the year before me, George Killian. And George almost died when he saw me, you know. We played football together. And my luck, guess what George did? George was a cook in the galley. I was never going to go hungry, okay? And the kicker was there was a fellow that graduated the year before George that worked also in the galley, Bobby Barrett. And there was another kid, Frank McLean. I think I saw him once, all the while I was on that ship. 3,000 guys. We had about 2,900 at that time. People on one big ship. Imagine that. They put me with the 7th Division, and the 7th Division was had charge of a gun turret. They took me and showed me it was a 40mm ACAC gun, and I was going to be one of the loaders on that. I walked out on the deck the next morning, real early. I got up real early, and I went out on the deck, and I looked around, and what a feeling I had. In every direction, for miles, as far as I could see, there was aircraft carriers, submarines, cargo ships, destroyers, okay? You name it, they were there. Destroyers, they were all there, and I just stood there in awe, looking around. Oh my word, that's the whole 6th Fleet. and we don't know where we're going. They haven't told us yet. And the next thing you know, I found myself up in the North Atlantic, crossing the Atlantic Ocean. And if you look at this ship, the highest part there is way up in the tower. Okay?
Can you guys
There's
see
a
it,
little
right?
hole up there.
Right there?
Yes. And there I am. I'm on lookout. And I got this real powerful pair of binoculars, and I'm looking. And all of a sudden, it's the whole area, everything is fog. And I said, it's fog. And the guy next to me, it's fog. What am I going to see in this? Keep looking. And I said, okay. And all of a sudden, there was a break in the fog. A little bit of a break, and I saw this ship. And I says, hey, I just saw a ship. And you have to look down, and there's a needle there that tells you what the degrees is. And the degrees, believe it or not, was 333. Now, I'm from Pennsylvania. I talk funny. 333. Okay, so when I reported that to the bridge, I spotted a ship at 333. And the guy comes back, he says, what are you, a bird? What's 333? You know, and I thought, well, okay, that's cool. They got a sense of humor, you know? Anyway, this ship is in this turmoil in the North Atlantic. And if you could imagine, the entire front of the ship would go down under the water.
No,
And then it would,
waves.
in the waves. And then it would, this massive big ship, and then it ain't supposed to do that, is it? And then it would come back up, and the back would go down, and then it would roll to one side. And oh my word, and then it'd go to the other side, you know, and I'm a trooper, man. I'm hanging on there. I ain't gonna get sick. But after a short time, it was good. No matter what the ship did, I was good. But you did learn to walk funny. When you got back on land, from the ship doing this and this and this, you know, you kind of learned to walk funny. So when you got back on land, it was funny walking. You know, you had to walk slow. You're waiting for the ground to move, you know. It's just an instinct, you know. So that was my introduction to the Navy.
What kind of training did you do?
What kind of training? I went to Bay Bridge, Maryland for training, and being Navy, it was a lot of exercise, a lot of working out. And I was in such good shape, I would only spend maybe 45 minutes on the drill range working out, and the instructor pick me out almost every time, and he'd say, "Yay, skinny, get out of here." I was a lot skinnier than I was 137 pounds. "Hey, skinny, take 2 laps and get out of here." I'd do 4. I'd run 4 laps, and then I'd get out of there. Okay, so I was on the swim team, and I had a really weird thing happen. They wanted to know, they asked these questions, you know, anybody ever play baseball? And I said, I did. Yeah, I raised my hand. Yeah, I did. And what did you do? I said, I was third base and I was a catcher. Oh, just what we need. So for 2 hours, for 2 weeks, in the afternoon, I had to go to the baseball diamond, and I was a catcher for a guy named Whitey Ford. And Whitey Ford was a very popular pitcher at the time for the New York Yankees. But he got drafted into the Navy. He's putting his time in, and here he is
Throwing you the ball.
throwing me the ball, man. And that guy could throw a ball. I'd go out of there and my hand would be swollen. You know? So it was a good perk. It was a good perk. I got to meet the guy, you know? The rest of my training was all fire. Fire was a big thing, learning to fight fires down in the ship in case they ever broke out. And you had to know, everybody had to train at that, go down into the lower decks and that and fight fire. So much. How old do you think I am?
73?
To add 2.
77?
Yeah. And I can still hike the mountains, trek, carry my pack,
Good shape.
hunt.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Where have I been?
Yeah.
Like as
Well-
far as like Navy and Marines, where did it take you?
The first trip with on board the USS New Jersey, I wound up in the Scandinavian countries, the Netherlands, okay, Scotland, okay, England, France, down into the Mediterranean then. And then we went through the Mediterranean, and I spent my first Christmas in Barcelona, Spain.
Wow.
And we
Cool.
decorated our ship. They never saw anything like this. We put lights were all over it. Every division had a big boxes of lights they had to put up on the ship. And we had a Santa Claus, man, taller than that ceiling. Great big Santa Claus up there, all lit up, you know. And he ho ho ho, which drove us nuts, you know.
Cool.
Ho ho ho, we're looking for the plug for the ho ho ho. You heard it, and then you heard it in your sleep. And then I came back, and I wound up, I was really with the Marines then, and I wound up down in Fort Benning, Little Creek, Virginia, places like that, and that was severe training. Started out, it was the first tactical force that this country ever had, and that was under the direction of Kennedy.
What was the most interesting about
Being a veteran after the military,
Sure.
it was a little hard at first because when we came back, it was the end, during and the end of the Vietnam era, and we didn't wear, I never go out dressed like this. People just shunned us, you know, and baby killers and all that stuff. We weren't the ones. We were following orders. We weren't the ones that decided to do all of that. And of course, being on the ship, you know, in Vietnam, we had a crew of Marines that I recall was, they were pinned down and ready, they were losing people and all, totally surrounded by the Viet Cong. And they called in the Jersey. And the Jersey let go with them big 16-inch cannons. I mean, them projectiles were this tall.
Is that the thing that
bullet.
come out of it? The bullet was that tall?
Yeah. And
That's a bullet.
by how far you want it, that was how many packages of black powder you put in the breech to fire it to wherever. And this was about 20 miles away from where we were in the Bay of Tonkin. And they put these big blocks in there. And I was below deck. I didn't see it. You couldn't be out on deck when those guns went off. And they just obliterated that whole entire area.
How long were you in the service?
6 years.
When did you serve?
When did I serve? 56 to 60 was my main duty. And then add 2 years to it, 61, 62.
How long were you in Vietnam?
I was over there a year. The ship came in, and the thing of it was, I came in, and we just did a lot of firing and that. We never left the ship. And the Camp Barrow was there, and it was kind of right alongside us. And my brother Bobby was on that, and I didn't know it.
You didn't even know he was
No,
there?
no, he
Oh my
did.
gosh.
And he says, "You won't believe how often I was out there yelling, 'Howdy!'" The guy over there yelling, "Howdy!" And I said, "What?"
Huh.
What was your rank?
I was a third-class personnelman. That means I had a book with a quill on it, okay? And one of the duties I had was these Marines I was with, I had to take care of their records, which was 40 of them. And they kept me on that raid. I should have had the medic rating because I did, every time I had an opportunity, I went to classes on being a medic. And in later years, after I got out, I wound up with a rescue squad. I worked for Johnson & Johnson Research in New Jersey, 31 years after I got out. And I worked for Robert Wood Johnson Medical Center in New Jersey, and I worked on the New Jersey Turnpike. I was a medic, I was a paramedic.